I'm Beckham,
I'm Alex.
and this is Transatlantic Tea Time.
Episode 3.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We hope you enjoyed listening to the previous two episodes. If you haven't listened to those, I highly encourage you to go back and give those a listen. That way,
Definitely.
you know what uncomfortable questions we answered, honestly.
Yeah, we've answered a few now. Yeah, but I mean, if you want to have listened to this one first, essentially we're just a couple of friends on either side of the big pond, just chatting, really, aren't we?
Yeah, we're just having an honest discussion about how we see things, what our lived experience has been, and what we think about things. Whether that opinion matches yours or not, I hope we at least can meet somewhere and just listening and maybe understanding each other.
Yep. Hope to be entertaining, but also educational.
Yeah, we're having a drink while we record. By the way, we hope you'll have
Always.
with us.
And if you have Coke, no one knows there's alcohol in it.
And if you just have a glass of wine, no, everybody knows that you don't care that they know you're an alcoholic. If you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's Seven Moons, red blend. I prefer my wines red and not sweet. So this one's a really fruity, not super sweet, really good blend. I like it. It's $11. They did not pay me to say that. It's a really good blend, so I'm gonna throw it out there.
And I'm drinking JD, and they would not need to pay me because everyone drinks JD.
Yeah, yeah, I drink gin. So today we're going to be discussing non-binary and transgender preferences for like pronouns, how Alex and I see things, and maybe differences in our coming out, how we came to be what we would say is transgender, and specifically female to male transgender.
And probably going to touch base a bit on how different transgender people transition differently. Not just me and you, but
So tell me, did you ever struggle like with your identity before you came out as trans? Like, did you ever identify as like gender queer or gender fluid? Because I definitely like thought I identified as gender fluid for a little while until I realized that I really didn't have any feminine qualities at all, and I was really just binary male.
yeah. Um, I didn't really identify as anything. It was more, I didn't know what I was for a while. But looking back, I was already always rather a binary trans guy. I had just had it drummed into me from outside sources that if you didn't have like constant crippling dysphoria every waking moment of your life, then you weren't trans. Then
Right.
you were just a bit gender non-conforming or
Okay, so for me, like for instance, I identified a little bit as like gender fluid, and I don't think that most people will like know what that means. So I kind of like my understanding is that you move between both binary gender expressions. So I like the meaning definitely didn't apply to me. Now that I know what it means, I thought that it meant that you were one gender and were kind of expressing the concepts of the other gender, not that you expressed both. So for me, like just doing a little bit of research for this episode, I learned something.
look at you learning. No, yeah, I when I was kind of like learning that I was transgender, I learned about other identities as well. Like I've said in a previous episode, I discovered I was transgender, and I discovered transgender was a thing because I was sent an article about how someone felt identifying as non-binary. So I kind of read about that before I even realized being a binary trans person, existed, that you could identify as a transgender person.
Okay. And I didn't do any research at all. I saw two friends of mine, two very good friends of mine, transition. Uh, One that I had known since 2005, 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. And he is, whew, you want to talk about an immaculate transition. He is a very good looking man. I'm not even into dude. He's a good looking dude. The other guy I've known for probably 6 or 7 years, maybe a little bit more. He's a little bit younger than me, but he is also a very good looking guy. And I just hope, I hope to look as good looking as they both are. Almost a decade into their transitions.
I am very straight, but I've seen some of your workout pictures, and sometimes I start questioning it.
Oh man.
You're a good-looking guy. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, I hope one day to pass as flawlessly, beardedly as they do. And you do. Oh man, I have serious jealousy about that beard. God.
It was a long time coming, like going on like 2 years on hormones before I realized, hey, I can grow facial hair.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Okay, okay. Back to the episode. Do you so how would you prefer your pronouns he him?
Yeah, I prefer he him pronouns.
And you would identify as transgender binary male?
Yeah, I'm a binary transgender man. Yep.
That's exactly how
Um,
I identify.
yeah, yeah. But it was actually I knew a transgender guy. I kind of knew he was kind of transitioning, but he was the one that kind of opened my eyes to there is no you are transgender if X, Y, and Z applies to you. It's literally you are transgender if you don't identify with the sex you were born as. Because he wasn't on hormones, he changed his name, but he still presented himself femininely at times. But throughout all of that, he was still very much, I'm a man. I'm comfortable being a man.
Good for him.
So that,
Yeah.
yeah. And through kind of him and then joining kind of online groups, I realized gender is 100% a spectrum.
Yes.
Just because I very binarily identify as a man, another transgender man maybe fall somewhere else on that spectrum.
Yeah. I know we're both members of a top surgery group that's non-binary friendly. Um, so that means for any of our audience who doesn't know, non-binary people prefer they them pronouns or neo pronouns. But I've seen most often the preferal of they them pronouns. So in that particular Facebook group, we try really hard not to say, "Hey, good job, man," or "Hey, good job, bro." We try and say things like, "Hey, good job, friendo." I think is my favorite one.
Yeah, I tend to go with peeps.
Peeps. I like friendo. I don't know. It seems
Yeah,
like
no, friendo's more friendly. I like that. Yeah,
hey,
but
friendo.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's something also people aren't aware of the fact that transgender is an umbrella that encompasses so many different identities.
Hmm.
So a black and white example would be we are binary trans men. We identify as men. We use he, him. A non-binary person doesn't feel one or the other.
Yeah.
They feel they're either smack in the middle, one more one way than the other. They don't feel like anything. They are kind of the Switzerland of the gender world in some ways. Is how
Or Or to be the opposite of that, they can also identify as a third gender,
yeah,
or agendered,
yeah,
just completely without gender. I think that concept to me is pretty interesting.
yeah. It was when I first heard of it, it was kind of strange wrapping my head around it. But then I was like, well, actually, no, it makes sense if you don't feel like you're one or the other, but you don't feel like non-binary fits, agender may very well fit you if you don't
Yeah,
feel like you're either of them or any mixture.
Maybe you're just a human, and it's cool if you're just a human, friendo. Like we're friends to all humans,
Yep.
minus racists and bigots.
Minus racist. Yep. We are not your friendos.
We are not your friendos. But even so, like for instance, for me, something that I try to do for my non-binary friends is that I include my pronouns in my email signature professionally to encourage other professionals to include their pronouns in their email signatures. That way,
Yeah.
maybe some of my friends can say, "Hey, I prefer they them," and not get a backlash at work. That's my goal.
Yeah, and I think I've seen that brought up a lot actually, that especially allies being encouraged to include pronouns in introductions, in email sign-offs, in bios on social media, because if we normalize it, it means transgender people who don't use binary pronouns are going to feel much more comfortable.
Yeah. So do you struggle with non-binary people at all? I know some trans guys do.
Yeah, no. Personally, no. Never had an issue. The group I admin, even though the title is FTM only UK, we're very welcoming of people who don't necessarily identify as trans men. It's predominantly a group aimed at people who are assigned female at birth. So we say in the rules, like, people who are non-binary or don't necessarily identify as a trans man can join, but just so you're aware, we're unlikely to have the kind of answers you're going to need just because of the kind of group it is.
Yeah, fair. I think that's
But no,
a great thing though, because maybe they're non-binary identifying now. Maybe they're searching for some answers. Maybe that's why they're joining the group. I don't know.
yeah, and a thing I find a lot in the group is lots of people join because they want answers about how to receive care or top surgeons or things like this. And it's a lot easier joining a group and asking a group of peers questions rather than trying to just find it on the internet randomly or relying on your doctor to have all the answers.
So speaking of top surgery for non-binary people, do you mind if I ask you an uncomfortable question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you have like an order of transition? Like I know for me, for instance, I'm going hormones, top surgery, probably bottom surgery. Not that that's anybody's business, but I'm fine putting it out there that that's my intentional pathway.
Yeah. See, when I started transitioning, I thought the traditional pathway was the only pathway available. I
Same.
thought it
I
was,
honestly thought that that was the only pathway available.
yeah. And to be honest, once upon a time, it was, if we're honest. Most surgeons, even today, some surgeons still recommend you are on testosterone for 6 months before you have top surgery because of fat redistribution and gaining muscle mass and things like this. So when I started transitioning, I went straight to hormones and then started looking into top surgery. So for me, I will be going same as you, hormones, top surgery. I know I want bottom surgery personally. Like, I'm comfortable putting that out there. Anyone who knows me knows that's what I'm after one day. If they've heard my girlfriend tell jokes about the party we're going to throw one day, like, um, but to be honest, if I had known it was an option, I may have actually had surgery first.
I might have as well because I have always struggled with my chest. My dysphoria around my chest is really large. As much as my chest is large, I would have had surgery first, I think. Although now I completely understand, like, as a man, as a binary identifying man, why I waited 6 months longer than that for the T to give me muscle tone because I feel like they will be able to ditch my scar and my pectoral muscle really well.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Lots of surgeons now are basically saying you don't have to be on hormones to have surgery and you'll still have good results,
Yeah.
because lots of, well, I think a part of that is because lots of non-binary people don't necessarily want hormones. but they
Yeah.
know they want surgery. And lots of trans men now are realizing they want surgery first.
Yeah. And I'm glad doctors are starting to come around to understanding that the patients can have a choice in the order of their operations. You know, it as an adult making permanent changes to my body, what does it matter if I make a permanent change via hormones or surgery first?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like for me personally, I think I would have had surgery first because um like like you said, most of my dysphoria was around my chest. And I feel like once I started passing more and more as a cis man, my chest became more and more of a problem.
Yeah.
Things like taking my kids swimming. I remember taking her swimming and lining up for like a slide and getting odd looks because it doesn't matter how much you try to flatten yourself. Once you're past a certain size, you're not getting flat. And I'm stood there with a beard in a like swim t-shirt with an obvious chest, which
Yeah.
doesn't look pectoral in shape.
Yeah.
So moments like that were very dysphoria inducing. So I might have had surgery first.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't experienced that. Like, because of the way my transition has gone with my weight loss, and I've been like gym building, my chest very much looks like pecs. Um,
Yeah.
so like the longer I've been on hormones, the longer I've been binding, the more I look like I just have a very built chest.
Yeah.
The more I've gotten euphoria from my chest, just because like right now my chest looks like it's big because it's muscular. That's not
Yeah.
true. Like once I take my shirt off, like that's not true. But at least in the gym and out in the world, like I just look like a really well built guy, and that's pretty
Yeah.
euphoria inducing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely get where you're coming from. Yeah. But like you said, I'm glad doctors are now realizing actually people can choose which order they have things in.
Yeah,
And I think also touching on something you said when you were talking about the steps you were going to take, you said you're pretty sure you're going to have bottom surgery. That's something else doctors are realizing as well, is that not every transgender person is going to have surgery, like lower surgery.
yeah, and I know right now the gender marker is very much like tied to that surgery here in the U.S. At least for your birth certificate. The last time I did my research, which granted has been like over a year or so ago, um, the last time I looked, you had to have had top surgery and bottom surgery in order to change your gender marker on your social security, like and birth certificate.
Yeah. See, here you don't necessarily need to have had the surgery, but there's very much advice going around saying when you get your report written up by your doctor so you can send it off to be reviewed to change your birth certificate, if you don't want bottom surgery for whatever reason it is, don't have that in your reports. Because if they think you don't want lower surgery, they're going to question whether you're serious and whether you should be changing your birth certificate. So whilst you don't need it, there's an implication that you should want it.
Okay, so it's an unspoken rule then. Like
Yeah.
whether they say it's a rule or not, it's an unspoken rule. And I think if it's not officially a rule here, I think it's very much an unspoken rule that you have to have bottom surgery in order to have your gender marker changed, which sucks for me because I very early on in passing, and that's fantastic. I am not complaining. Um, but when people call me for my banking or like very like government stuff, and I answer with my voice and say my name is Beckham, I get questioned about my official business, and that's kind of
Yeah.
like if they would just streamline the process over here to make it easy to change my gender and my name, then no one would have to know that I was trans at all. at this point. I'm not intending to be stealth, but it at least would save me about 10 minutes on the phone each time my bank calls.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, and I think things need to start moving the way where lower surgery isn't expected, because as we've just discussed, people might want hormones before surgery. They might not want hormones. They might not want surgery. They might not want bottom surgery for many, many reasons, and that could be financially. That could be because they just don't want to put themselves through surgery. Because the thing with lower surgery, it's not like top surgery. You're not out the same day, and 6 weeks later you're getting on with your life. It's like 3, sometimes 4 surgeries to be done and dusted. Some people don't want to put themselves through that.
Yeah. I'm really, I hope that I don't offend anybody when I say this though. I wonder if there's got to be some checks at some point to make sure that people are mentally competent. Like when changing gender, for instance, very early on, I know quite a few very young people who have gone from very strongly identifying transgender female to male to very strongly identifying as non-binary to very strongly identifying as the sex assigned as birth, and then like back to one of the other two within a year. So like there has to be some kind of check because I know the government is not going to allow us to go through, 4 or 5 gender marker changes. I mean, they should, because let's be honest, it's our own bodies. We should be able to do whatever we want. Uh, but for the governments that we have now, we know that that's just not going to be possible.
Yeah, I think a problem with that is there's so much expectation to, if you want treatment, you have to be 100% certain. And I think some people may feel pressured into accepting a title, a identity, so they can get the treatment they need to feel comfortable.
Okay, that's fair.
I think that has some part in it. I think some people maybe want to identify in a binary way because they feel it's more accepted.
But in reality, are not binary at all.
Yeah.
I can see that. Um, I was surprised by how many like definitions fell under the non-binary umbrella. To be honest,
Yeah. I think part of that is it's easier to say you're either binary, transgender, or you're non-binary, and everything just falls under non-binary.
Yeah,
Than it is I mean, I'm talking from like a paperwork official way. They're seeing as it's easier that we just put 3 options rather than try and cater to everyone, because I think I couldn't tell you how many gender identities there are, and they're all completely valid.
yeah.
But I think from a government point of view, if they had to list every gender identity, they're going to leave someone out, and it may be a case of forms would just be too long and too complicated trying to cater to every identity. Unfortunately, there should just be a case of you can just fill in the box yourself saying how you identify rather than a tick box. But
I agree with that. Have you started altering how you change your forms yet? Like when you're signing up for stuff online or maybe even officially, like with maybe medical places, are you marking yourself as male even though you haven't changed your form that I know of?
see, in the UK, it's a little bit different. So I've changed my name and my title legally. So, and even though I haven't had my birth certificate changed, all of my details with the bank, with like my taxes, so actually legally with the government, it's all under Mr. Alexander Clark. So I have certain protections where if I don't want to declare it, I don't have to, unless there's a legal necessity for it, essentially. So if I was like going to the doctors, like for example, on my medical records, under sex, it says male. But on all of my records, it clearly shows I'm transgender, but it says male because one of these protections, because otherwise any receptionist can type in my name, see Mr. Alexander Clark, female, and it's immediately outing me, and it's, you know, data protection and things like that. So I'm allowed to put male on everything and not be penalized. The only time I have to declare it is if it's for security reasons, like if you're going into a position of care. So if you're working in a care home, you have, I believe, I mean, the last time I looked into it, you had to be legally the gender as the people you're working with.
Okay. I'm not sure here. I really don't know what the legal laws are because I didn't care. um, I started like very early on, probably before I even like verbally said out loud that I was trans, marking male on some of my forms just because I felt that way on that day and I felt like being honest about it, you know? But legally I'm still like getting male as my dead name, and I needed to have a therapist note, and I needed to be on hormones for a certain amount of time before I can legally change my name. And then once I changed my name, I believe the last time I looked into it, I had to have top and bottom surgery to change my gender marker.
Yeah, here, changing my name was as simple as filling in a form online and paying a fee.
Wow.
And I could use that to change everything. To change my passport to say male, I had to get a letter from a psychologist. To start hormones, I had to have a session with a psychologist. If any surgeries, that's more appointments with specialists. If I want to change my gender marker, I need to have a report from my doctor talking about my transition, where I'm at in my transition, the treatment I've had, any treatments I'm planning on the future. I need any psychological reports I've had. And I need 2 years worth of paperwork showing I've been using my new legal name. So that's bills, pay slips, bank statements, tax forms, things like that. You have to have 2 years showing you've been using your name before you can apply for your birth certificate to be changed.
I wonder if it's the same here and I just don't know about it.
I mean, let's be honest, you guys have different laws state by state, so
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in Oklahoma and I know in order to change my name, I have to publish that I'm changing my name in the newspaper and wait 30 days for that to be challenged.
okay. Challenged. Seems odd, but okay.
I don't know. Some kind of old law. Maybe people were trying to get out of bills. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it makes
wild,
sense.
wild
Yeah,
west out here.
yeah, to be fair, when you are signing up, like when you're signing the forms to change your name by deed poll here, it does say in there that you're signing and you're saying you are not doing this for fraudulent reasons, and you will be notifying all relevant parties of your name change and things like that.
I assume it says something similar on our forms. Who knows? Who knows? But that's like when you were describing all that, that's quite a few barriers, even in my country too. There's quite a few barriers to just being who you are.
Yeah,
That's a
and the
little
thing is, lots of people haven't applied for these forms for a myriad of reasons. One of the which is it feels dehumanizing to have to submit all of your paperwork and reports and details of your medical transition to a board of people who don't know you from Adam and you know. And also the fact that under the current law, if you are married or in a civil partnership, you have to have a consent form signed by your spouse agreeing to you changing your gender. And if you can't get spousal consent, then you cannot apply. Which
holy
is
crap. Holy crap is that treating people like property?
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is also puts people in an unfortunate position if they're separated and not yet divorced, of not being able to apply until their divorce is final.
Wow. Well, I am glad that the US at least does not require your spouse to sign off on anything.
Yeah, yeah.
We're a little bit ahead of you there, not gonna lie.
I'll give you that one.
Thanks. We need it. We need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
We're a train wreck. All right, is it tea time?
I think it can be tea time, yeah.
You think it's tea time? All right. Did you want to do the first question or did you want me to?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
So the question I have is, can FTM people, so that's female to male, is essentially what transgender men is kind of a title. Can they take T boosters? And I feel my response to that is nobody should be taking that snake oil, frankly, because all those things basically is just a mixture of different vitamins and minerals that encourage your body to produce more testosterone, but they usually only work for people with testicles. And even then, there's very, very little evidence that they work. So, yes, but they won't do anything apart from waste your money.
So I feel the need to disclose here that I did go to school for chemistry, specifically biochemistry. Um, all vitamins are expensive pee, and I stand by that statement.
Yeah.
My favorite professor said the exact same thing. Your body doesn't absorb vitamins in the way or the amounts that we're trying to give them. You know, pushing 100% of something is, as long as it's not a fat soluble soluble vitamin. All it does is you pee it out. That's it. You are just
Yeah.
peeing out 1,000% of something that you barely needed any of.
Yeah.
In the case of fat soluble vitamins, though, you can really hurt yourself. And once you start losing weight, you will see some really adverse reactions. I highly recommend people to research fat soluble vitamins before they start doing any. But
Yeah.
all vitamins are just
Complete.
expensive pee.
Yeah. Essentially, I mean, I feel like I've read and done research, and there's very, very little evidence that vitamins and minerals will have any effect on your hormone levels in any way, shape, or form. Very, very, very little evidence. And even then, it could be a complete coincidence. You're better off looking at your diet
Well, you
than
can
you
do
are taking
things. You
vitamins.
can do things in your diet to up your testosterone and lower your estrogen. You can cut out soy products. You can up your protein intake. You can go to the gym every day, especially if you go in the morning. Your testosterone levels are highest every morning. So if you go to the gym first thing in the morning, you're doing a double pump. Basically, you'll have like really high testosterone levels. Also, a healthy sex life helps with testosterone levels.
You heard it here, man. It's true. Actually, there is scientific data. We're not lying because we
We're
know
not
our
lying.
girlfriends listen to these podcasts. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I'm a
true. There's
scientist. You can trust me. All right. So my question that I decided to do is: are female to male transgender people fertile? And we kind of have talked about this a little bit before, uh, just to pre-disclose with the audience. Um, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge other than just basic science. I thought that you would be fertile, even if you weren't having your period, because you could obviously still ovulate. And Alex confirmed that for me accidentally before we started recording the episode.
Yeah, it's a fact that even doctors get wrong, unfortunately, that chances are going on testosterone, your periods or shark week or however you like to refer to it, will stop. However, it doesn't mean you stop ovulating. And unfortunately, there are guys out there who haven't had hysterectomies, who weren't aware of this, and have accidentally gotten pregnant when sleeping with penis havers.
Oh man.
Well, that's what got you, penis havers.
Yeah, that's what got me, penis havers. That's what stopped.
I didn't want to make assumptions on who they were sleeping with. So
you're not wrong. I appreciate that about you, that we are so inclusive. I appreciate it. So yes, female to male, transgender people, people with a uteri, I should say. If you have a uterus, you can, and both ovaries, or one ovary. If you have a uterus and one ovary, you can get pregnant. So please take all reasonable precautions, that you and your partner are prepared for whatever the inevitability is, whatever you would prefer. We hope you're happy with your decision, and we hope it's a decision and not a mistake.
Yeah, and on a side note, not from personal experience, but from people sharing and asking questions in group, if for whatever reason mistakes happen, we all know mistakes happen. Even if you are on testosterone, you can still take Plan B. So emergency contraceptive, apparently it still works.
That is really good to know. I did not know that. I wasn't aware. So thanks for teaching me. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too.
Thanks. Since we're doing a question about non-binary, or an episode about non-binary friendos, I wanted to take a second though and recognize one term that is very specific to a particular peoples, and that's two-spirit. So, two-spirit is a term used by Native Americans for people who possess the traits of both binary genders or somewhere in between. And it is specific to Native American peoples, and it's not really appropriate to use that at all if you are not Native American.
No, yeah, completely back you up there. It's not really, I feel like in England, you don't really hear people throwing around the term because we're not really exposed to Native American culture. But in groups I've been in where there are Americans and other people from, surrounding countries, it's very much people use that term because they don't like to say non-binary, but it is very much an exclusive idea and identity to Native Americans. So people should respect that and not use that.
Yeah. I unfortunately have seen quite a bit of exploitation of Native American culture. I grew up in a home where my mom identified as Native American, but we didn't. She didn't identify as a Native American and then go and spend time contributing to that community. We were Native American and we decorated our house Native American, and we only busted it out for special occasions. And I was related to Pocahontas. And later on, when I did my DNA test and I found out that that was very much not true, and I went back to her and I was like, hey, we're not actually Native American. I just wanted you to know so that we could stop appropriating this culture. Her response was, I'm Native American in my heart. And I was just like,
oh,
okay. I'm not going to make it anywhere here. So, two-spirit, very much an exclusive term for Native Americans.
Yeah. And the thing is, I also hear people, they bandy it around when they're defending transgender people, saying, well, I identify as non-binary. I'm two-spirit. Two-spirit people have always existed. You don't have to fall back on that. Transgender people have always existed.
Yeah.
There is evidence of it in many, many cultures around the globe.
Yeah. If you need to defend yourself, just hit me or Alex up. We will defend you for you to whoever in whatever respectful or disrespectful tone you need.
Exactly. Like we said, we are not friendos to bigots or racists.
That's right. That's right. So if you need us to get disrespectful for Aunt Marnie over there because she just keeps mouthing about you non-binary and how she can't figure out they them pronouns, you let us know. We got you.
That's something that I also don't understand is when people say, I don't understand they them pronouns. It's plural. It doesn't mean a singular person. Yes, it does. If I said to you, which way did the milkman go? You would say they went that way.
No, it's not that they don't understand. It's that they're willing to disrespectfully misunderstand.
Yes.
Like,
True.
let's be
True
clear.
that.
There's a difference between misunderstanding and disrespectfully misunderstanding.
No, fair. No, yeah, completely agree with that.
Oh man, I hope somebody tags us in. Like seriously,
You get reared up just thinking about it. Like,
I am. I'm ready to go. Aunt Marge ain't got crap on me. I've got years of childhood trauma waiting to come out.
Do you know what? I could have actually brought up some questions my aunt gave me because I started chatting with my aunt this week and I completely forgot.
Do it.
She asked me a few questions. I'm trying to remember what they were now off the top of my head. It was like odd ones. Okay, I mean, the kind of vague ones and not specific to my circumstances were, did I find it weird seeing all the changes happening in the mirror?
What was your answer? I'm super curious.
No, actually, I found them very euphoria inducing. There was no change I saw that I thought that was weird. Why is that happening? The only thing I was a bit like, about was seeing genetics at play, because before hormones, everyone said I looked like my mum. Now I'm on hormones 2 years. Everyone's like, you are the spitting image of your dad.
I'm about to go compare pictures of me and my dad because I think I look much more like him now, and I need to see. But I
Yeah.
do have one thing that I look in the mirror and I'm just like, that is fucking weird, man. And that is chest hair on a chest. Is like
Yes. I was laughing about this. I was laughing about this with Tony. That I mean, I don't want chest hair. I don't really want a hairy chest. But when I've been looking down at myself, I'm like, I'm starting to get a hairy chest.
okay.
Not like, not
I
down the
have a
middle
hairy
though.
chest already. Like
Yeah.
hairy chest already. And
Mine's weird though. It's not like down this. It's not like on my sternum. Mine is specifically like on my pecs.
oh no, I wish mine was up here. Mine's all on my actual like breast tissue. And I'm just like, that's like if it was up here, I would understand. I would be like, oh, that's my pecs. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
yeah. Mine's like nothing in the middle. It's all here. All of it. Just like
Genetics is fucky, man. Genetics is fucky.
yeah. Yeah.
What's our next question?
Another question I got was, is it weird having facial hair?
What was your answer?
Yes, in many ways. Mostly, the first time you feel wind through facial hair is fucking weird.
Is it?
Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like when wind blows through your head hair. Like the first time I felt that, I was like, that was weird. And things like, it's just one more thing to maintain. I have a special shampoo for my beard, and I have an oil for my beard to stop it getting itchy and dry, and I have a special comb for my beard, and I have to trim it and shape it. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like,
So
yes.
I can't grow a beard yet, but I have like a pretty decent mustache. It just happens to be very, very blonde. And I grow like a little bit down here. But I shave basically every 3 days just to like start fresh and see how fast it's growing in.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had a chance to grow anything out long enough to feel the wind through my hair.
Yeah. See, I understand why I was asked that question, because I've gone from up until the age of 29 not having facial hair, and then suddenly having a beard. So yeah, I guess it's weird only because it's getting used to it. But again, very euphoria inducing. I enjoy having facial hair.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
think
me
it suits
too. I
me.
love my mustache. And actually, Summer and I, when we first started dating this time, she was like, I don't know about hair. I'm really not sure. But I shaved my mustache off to at the beginning of November for No Shave November. Shout out to Men's Prostate Health, BT Dubs. And she was like, I do not like this. You need to grow that back now. I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty
Tony
dope.
was like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about facial hair," and then I grew it out, and she's like, "I like it. I actually like you with facial hair." And I think a big part of that is when I'm clean shaven, I have very much a baby face.
Same, same.
Yeah,
I look super mega young whenever I'm clean shaven.
yeah. I might be clean shaven soon. It might be going for reasons I'll talk about another day.
Yeah, yeah. Next episode. You want to talk about next episode for a sec? Like what it's gonna be? Sneak peek.
But give everyone a sneak peek.
No, I think we're gonna give everyone a sneak peek of what
Of
your what your big
what the next episode might
announcement's
be
gonna
like.
be. What's that next announcement you're gonna make?
That's your sneak peek. So if you guys are listening, sorry you don't get the sneak peek.
Oh, if you're listening, the sneak peek is one of my favorite things about women. It's my favorite thing about women. That's the sneak peek for listeners.
Yeah, that's your sneak peek for the next episode and what we're going to be talking about.
All right, sounds good. And